The Podcasting Dead is available on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, and SoundCloud. Make sure to subscribe for more podcasts. And while you're at it, drop us a like. If you want to help support the channel and have access to extra content, secret contests, and more, make sure to search for us on Patreon. Patreon.com/ThePodcastingDead.
Let's talk Walking Dead on an unscheduled Walking Dead day here on our channel. We normally talk about The Walking Dead on Monday, but I was sent this really interesting article by several different listeners, so I figured it warranted discussion here on the channel. If you're just discovering us, my name is Justin.
I go by JP.
And we're The Podcasting Dead. We podcast about a little bit of everything from The Walking Dead to conspiracies to supernatural to just everyday life. So if you enjoy discussion and podcasting, feel free to check out our channel, give us a like and a subscribe. It'll help us out a ton. But in the meantime, JP, how did you feel about the character of Beth on The Walking Dead?
I mean, she was there.
Right. I mean, like,
that's about it.
Her death, okay, and spoilers, but I mean, really, if you haven't judging by the title of this, if you haven't caught up on the show, why would you be listening to this? But anyways, her death and her existence was impactful in the way that it brought several people. It set in motion several things, so I can give it the respect of that. But I'm with you. The whole hospital storyline sucked. The episodes with just her and Daryl, in my opinion, were some of the worst, most boring. I don't want to say worst. The acting was good and stuff, but it was just so slow and boring, which is funny because I'm pretty sure Angela Kang wrote those episodes, and they're like my least favorite of all time, yet she took over the show as a showrunner, and now it's been doing fantastic, which I know there are more, people involved, but I mean, still. But yeah, so apparently The Walking Dead was going to be a lot darker. So let me ask you about one more character. What did you think about Axel?
I mean, I didn't hate him. It definitely wasn't what I was looking for from a page-to-screen adaptation, but that's just me as a comic reader nitpicking. But, I mean, he was fine.
Well, I wasn't a big fan of him. I thought he kind of sucked. He was just a little bitch. I thought he had the potential to become a character that we could love, like a lovable little, excuse my language, but a lovable little bitch. You know what I mean? Right. Like a scared little mouse that could grow on you. Maybe would become brave. I don't know. I didn't know where they were going with it because you and I have both read the comics, and screen Axel is way different than comic Axel. Oh, yeah. Comic Axel was this big, burly, biker-looking dude, and on screen he just was not. Yeah. Like he wasn't at all. He was almost like a pimp. In the comics. I mean, he was a pretty,
so many great moments in the comics.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
He walks past. I forget who was showering, which chicks. Was it like Andrea and Lori maybe? But
yeah, I think so.
Like, gonna save that image for later. You follow me?
Yeah.
God, I loved him.
Yeah, he was awesome. Well, it turns out according to this article that I've read in the Huffington Post, both Beth and Axel's stories were originally going to be way, way darker than they ended up being. A recent interview with the actor that played Axel, Lou Temple, said that actually Axel was going to be a killer. And it was interesting because one thing he said in the interview was the reason why he stayed buttoned up all the time is it was going to be revealed like he was covered in tats. Oh, wow. So apparently at one point in the original script, he was going to drag Beth into the woods and slaughter her. Basically, he was kind of taking the Thomas storyline from the comics, which I had always assumed Thomas, like that was a subtle nod. He was a killer and just kind of unhinged in a way, not in the same way that Thomas was. Yeah. But Axel was going to take more of the Thomas, which you think about it. Thomas played this innocent, like, tax evader or something to that effect.
Like a white-collar crime guy.
Whatever. And then it turned out that he was just an absolute freaking psychopath, and that's the route that was going to go. And at one point, he was actually going to beat the shit out of Carol, and that's actually what he says in the interview, that the script had him beating the shit out of Carol and then dragging Beth into the woods. Because you think about it, and they did kind of set that up, just the way he creepily was sitting in the jail cell with Beth and was like, "How old are you anyways?" And she said something like 17 or something. He was like, "Well, 7 isn't that interesting." And then he made the comment to Carol that, everybody was taking and she was a lesbian and she's like, I'm not a lesbian. You know what I'm talking about? Remember
that was kind of an off-putting scene.
They definitely set up several little things. And like I said, I think it's interesting that he stayed buttoned up. But yeah, like all of his other stories were bullshit. Mm-hmm. And he was just this psychotic killer. And I honestly, what do you think about that storyline? Like if it would have went that route, we didn't, have Axel turn out to be just this sweet. Well, because the Axel that we got is the kind of guy that you're like, well, I know how he survived in prison. He was just everybody's little bitch.
Yeah, he was giving lip service.
Right. Or I was going to say, plenty of other services he could have been giving. How would you have felt if they would have went that route?
It would have made him actually an interesting character, someone that I wouldn't have forgot about until you brought him up just now. So I think that definitely would have been a better way to go.
You think they should have went that darker route?
Yeah, absolutely. And it would have, definitely thrown us for a loop just because we know how the comic Axel ended up. He was such a sweetheart and a nice comic relief. And this one just totally going dark. And wow. Yeah, they should have done that. Why didn't they do that?
I agree. I definitely think it would have given the show a nice dark edge. Like you said, it would have thrown everybody for a loop. At least the comic readers would have been like, what? Axel's not a killer? And we might have been bitching about it and like, Axel's not a killer. But in hindsight, you'd look back and be like, because they've done that. They've taken certain characters and kind of blended storylines from other characters. Yeah. I really wish they would have taken that route because honestly, I like Emily Kinney. She seems like a wonderful girl, but Beth was just kind of an annoying-ass character. Like, I never really cared for her. And even though, yes, Emily Kinney is a pretty damn good singer. Actually, I think I heard she wrote the song that Beta was singing.
Is that right?
I'm pretty sure I read that somewhere. Don't hold me to that, but I think I've read that she's the one that wrote that song. And I like her. But sometimes it don't matter how much you like the actor or actress. The role just sucks. Like Andrea. Now, I know we dispute on this because you just want to bet. But yours is purely lust. You just think she's hot.
No. I think she's a very interesting character.
I think Laurie Holden seems like a wonderful person. She's done some great things, not just as an actress, but as a human being. If you look her up, she's a fascinating person, and she has my respect. And I wouldn't hesitate to watch something else she was in. But it's just not much she could do with that role because she was handed essentially just this crappy character that could have been very interesting, but instead just kind of sucked.
Well, can I ask you this? Did you like her up until the governor story?
Not really, no.
Is that what spoiled it for you?
Not really, no. She just did several things that sucked ass. Like I kind of got irritated with her with the whole being mad at Dale thing. I get her point. I really do. But this guy cares about you so much that he was willing to die with you rather than to live without you. You're allowed to be mad at him a little bit, but she kept that shit going for way too long. And it's like, I'm learning to forgive you type deal. And it was like, what? I get it. It wasn't his choice to make. And, he put you in. I get all of that. But at the end of the day, can't you, after a few days, can't you cool down and say, I don't like what you did? I do appreciate your concern for me. Blah, blah, blah. And then her leaving Beth in the room alone. Again, I get what she was getting at, but it still was stupid to think that you were going to do that and people were just going to be okay with it. Just she made so many dumb decisions. Then when she shot Daryl and skimmed him in the face with a bullet after everyone was yelling at her not to take the shot, don't shoot. I got to prove myself. She's just one of those characters that constantly tried to prove herself, and it got annoying after a while. Like some of the greatest heroes in the show were never trying to prove themselves. They just became heroes. I think Andrea could have been, in the comics, she was fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
One of the best characters in the comics. She was tough. She was hot. She had everything going for her. Like, you respected her not in a, it's kind of contradictory when I say she was hot. You didn't like her just because, she was put there to be the hot sex symbol. She was attractive in a very normal way. But what made her hot was that she was just such a natural badass,
I'm telling you, man, one of the spiciest panels in any comic book. You see that that Andrea butt crack right after Rick's got through, pounding it out.
Yeah.
That was
it's like comic
stuff.
Spoilers too.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you're welcome to know that there's going to be some more good, sexy Andrea time in the comics. So, if anything, that should motivate you to read further into the series.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. So I definitely think that they should have went with that storyline. I mean, it would have made Axel, and I would have loved for Axel to have become like a villain. Like even if they didn't follow the exact Thomas storyline, with the whole. Just the way that went in the comic. Maybe Axel got away and joined forces with the governor at some point.
What I was thinking,
There's so many cool ways you could have taken that story, but instead we just got a guy who, like Oscar, I thought was an interesting character. And of course they brought him in just to be a red shirt, more or less. And it sucks because I really would have liked to have seen, he was brave. You really didn't feel like he belonged in the prison, like he was a good guy. Just a lot going for the character of Oscar. I really wanted to see where that went. And then, of course, nope, we had to have Wolverine Shane shoot him off the bus when they were all trying to escape, But I would have liked to have seen it. And instead, all we got was Axel. And then he was just basically there to show that despite having one eye and doing cross-eye scope mechanics, the governor was still deadly accurate at hundreds of yards away. Like, that was the Axel's only point.
Yeah.
So I would have much preferred that. And like I said, Beth's one of those characters you could get away with that. Like, you would feel bad about it in a way. You'd be like, oh, that sucks, that poor girl. That's horrific. But not enough that you would be like, I'm done with this show. That's too much. Now, if he would have drugged Carol out there and chopped her up, you probably would have lost some viewers. Beth, it would have just drawn us in.
And it would have saved us from those grueling episodes we got later on.
No doubt.
Yeah.
And, I mean, you could have almost had a Troy-type character with Axel. I mean, he could have just been a disgusting villain. But, I mean, there's just so many things that could have came out of it. Now, I mean, I don't know if Troy was ever quite that, just despicable. But I do think that, you could have just had a much more interesting character. Like I said, I would have loved it if they would have had him kill her. It was found out that he was the killer, but instead of playing out the way it does with Thomas, I would have loved for him to escape. Maybe like he escapes and we don't see him for a few seasons, and then he shows back up. Just, I don't know, not in the same way that Martinez showed back up. That is one of the most wasted, pointless things I think The Walking Dead has ever done, was bringing back Martinez to be a bad guy for about a minute and a half. That was so stupid.
I mean, for one thing, I'd forgot who Martinez even was, and then to bring him back and make him even less memorable than what he was to begin with.
And the actor, I've heard or read, was not very happy with, he had been fighting to come back for a long time, and they finally brought it. It's almost like they did that just to appease the actor, because he had been sharing shit on Twitter for a while, I think, basically saying, like, Martinez is still alive. Bring back Martinez. I'm an actor and I need work. Please put me back in this top billing show. I really want to be on the success train. And they finally were just like, oh my God, fine, here's your script. And then it was like, what? So, I don't know, man. I thought that was the pointless, but so many missed opportunities and so many. I wondered if you could talk to the writers, because this was all coming from Lou Temple. I would like to see what the writers would say. Like, do they, that'd be something, that'd be such a cool conversation in retrospect with the writers of The Walking Dead. Like, what do you wish you would have done different when crafting this story? Do you wish that Axel would have been a serial killer and would have, chopped Beth up? Do you wish that the Negan saga would have been wrapped up a season earlier? How would you have liked it to have been? And it's so crazy how shows are affected by things like people leaving.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just interesting to see. I would love interdimensional cable where we could just watch parallel universe Walking Deads to see how they played out.
Yeah, I wonder who pulled the plug on the Psycho Axel storyline.
I think the writers. He just said the writers came to him. They always kept it kind of, like he thought when he took the role that, from what I'm pretty sure I read, like he thought when he took the role that that's what he was playing, and they told him to play up being charming and. To which I didn't really get charming out of that. I just got bitch. But, but now, and that's the thing too, man. If he would have played a bitch and then turned out to be a serial killer, it would have made so much more sense why he was acting like such a bitch.
Yeah. Like
he was really trying to sell this defenseless, let your guard down around me guy, because in reality, he was a predator. Like, that would have made so much more sense. But no, he just died basically being a bitch.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm not saying he didn't have his moments.
I can't remember any of them, to be quite frank.
I saw Lou Temple in a movie recently, and the movie itself was actually kind of stupid, but it was cool to see him play a different role. It was like, were they zombies? Or I think it was zombies. I don't know. It was some movie on Hulu, and it was like he lived in this cabin in the middle of the woods, and these teenagers, of course, or younger people. And it was something like a zombie vampire or something, and it was just a big twist. But it was interesting seeing him play a more rugged character, and he's a good actor. I mean, I like him. The movie itself, I like his role in The Walking Dead was kind of crap, but, he was good. But, yeah, I would love to see an alternate universe where that happened. Can you imagine that?
Yeah, dude, I think it would have been a lot better.
A tatted up Axel, like Henry Rollins tattooed, And,
or he could have been like that Batman villain. I forget his name, but he like carves a tally mark into his skin for every person he kills.
Well, isn't that what Michael Jordan did in Black Panther?
Oh, yeah. Killmonger, yeah.
Killmonger had like a little mark on his chest for like everybody he killed. I thought it looked kind of funky, honestly. It was like, ooh, but I just thought he had like invisible body armor or something on until I watched the movie, and I was like, oh. Yeah, that's stupid. Yeah. I do like Michael B. Jordan a lot, though. I think he's an incredible actor. Anything he's in, I'll give a chance. But I just, when he said that's why it marked himself, because he's a good villain. I liked his villain. You kind of, anyways, we won't get into a Black Panther discussion because that could be a whole nother podcast. But I liked Killmonger. I feel like he was just kind of off a little too quick, but I did like him as a villain. He was a villain like you understood his motives. It was just so cool seeing a villain you could kind of sympathize with, and you were like, I don't agree with what he's doing, but I understand why his motives may be that way.
I would have liked to have seen him come back and Claw. I hate they offed Claw.
No, he was a cool character. That guy, apparently, and I know I sound super unprofessional in pop culture and movies and stuff saying that guy, but I'm pretty sure the actor that played Claw was is a director, and
he's got a big resume, and I want to say he's going to be Alfred in the new Batman.
Yes, I think you're right.
Yeah, so I love that guy.
Yeah, he's awesome. Well, it's just like Jon Favreau, I mean, he played Happy, but who would have known he was such a great director and writer and all of these other things as well.
Yeah, man, he did coke with Christopher Moltisanti on The Sopranos.
Could never pronounce his name right. Takiti, the guy that does Jojo Rabbit and Thor Ragnarok, and I mean, everything he touches turns to gold as well. I mean, he's funny himself. He seems to be a great writer. He's a good director. So some people just got it good like that.
Real Renaissance man.
Yeah, absolutely. Still want to see Jojo Rabbit. It's on my list.
Me too.
I hear it's awesome. Everybody I've talked to said, dude, it is like top notch. It's a great, very thoughtful, very emotional, very funny. Like, it's just got everything going for it.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen a Nazi comedy since The Producers.
But anyways, back to The Walking Dead. I know we tend to get off course here. We just, but yeah, I would love to have seen this. I wish The Walking Dead would. I always wonder, like, if it ended up on a network like HBO, how much darker it would be than it is now.
Me too. I've often wondered that if HBO had picked it up, because it got pitched to HBO, right? Didn't they turn it down?
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
Well, that's the thing, too. Everybody the people that I hear that say they quit watching The Walking Dead because the Negan kill was too brutal, I'm like, what? I mean, I can understand if you were just so torn up to watch your favorite character die in that way that you just had to step away. My girlfriend there was a very traumatic death in Dexter. My girlfriend's not a very dramatic human being. She's not one of these drama people that, needs an excuse to act upset. And it was so traumatizing and so unexpected. She had to take like 6 months off that show before she got back. She just was like, nope, that's enough of that.
The end of the season with the Trinity
killer?
Yeah.
Yes, that hit her so hard that she was like, nope, I need a break.
That was like Dexter just at its peak.
Oh, when it was like never, nothing was better at that point.
It was never as good as it was that season. John Lithgow, man.
I think that's everybody's favorite. It was just so, and you don't expect it at all, man. And when it hits, you're like, what? So I get it, but to the people that are like, I didn't really like Glenn. I just thought it was too brutal for their kids could be watching that. Number one, it's a show about dead people eating living people. But two, if they would have done more dark things like this, like Axel killing Beth, then when it would have gotten to the Negan Glenn kill, it wouldn't have been as dark.
You're right.
Well, it would have been as dark, but people would have been used to the show being that dark. You know what I'm saying? Like, it wouldn't have been a new... I don't know what I'm trying to say, but I do know what I'm trying to say. Like, people would be used to dark things happening, you know?
Yeah.
Even if it was more brutal than we had been before, we would have experienced more brutality and darkness in the show up to this point to kind of prepare us for it. Yeah. Whereas, you know, now it's kind of like, I love The Walking Dead, and don't get me wrong, my daughter's only a year, so it don't matter whether she watches it or not. But if I had younger kids, when I say older, I mean somewhere like 6 or 7. I mean, I still wouldn't watch them, but I still feel like sometimes The Walking Dead is kind of like the family-friendly zombie apocalypse in a way. Like the family all crowds around the TV and watches it, which you shouldn't, but I just feel like it could be darker.
Yeah, it's weird, man. I work with like this 18 or no, maybe 20-year-old kid, and he just talks about growing up watching The Walking Dead. And I'm just like, Jesus, growing up watching it.
That's like when they had Rick say, you know, they're effing with the wrong people, and then they changed it on AMC to be like he's screwing with the wrong people, and you can watch bonus content where he actually drops the F-bomb. But they were like, we didn't want, you know, for the younger viewers. They're locked in a camp where people harvest people.
Yeah.
Like the premiere, the very next episode that you watch from that, they've got people strung up like cattle, and the next episode involves them hit people's heads in with bats and slitting their throats and the blood draining in a trough. And you're worried that the F word is what's gonna do it? So it's just things like that Scott Gimple used to say and do that I'm like, where's your brain at, man? That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
Crazy,
but
dude, and they could have bleeped the F word. Like they've used the F word on Breaking Bad. They would just like bleep it real quick.
Oh yeah. But these are all whatever. I know that we've gotten way off from Axel and Beth, but what I'm saying is I feel like the show has had many opportunities to be as dark as it needs to be because the comics were dark.
Oh yeah,
the comics were dark. I mean, spoilers if you hadn't read the comics up to this point, but sorry, they've been over now for a year and a half. It's time to just accept it and, you know, stay off the internet until you've read the whole thing. But, you know, in the comics, it was even darker than that. I mean, Thomas killed 2 little twin girls.
Yeah, like toddlers or something.
We're not talking about a girl that was almost 18, almost a legal adult. We're talking like these toddler-aged girls and that Herschel, the father, finds in a jail cell decapitated.
I forgot they were Herschel's kids.
He's like sawed their head off with a steak knife, more or less, and just left them there. And Herschel finds his 2 twin toddler daughters decapitated and turned into zombies. Yeah. So
Jesus.
The show needed to go that dark. I mean, maybe not so dark as to have 2 toddlers decapitated. But taking Beth out in the woods and chopping her up would have worked.
Yeah.
I just want it to be dark. I don't know, man. Like I said, I'd love to see an alternate universe where HBO signed on with this show to see what it could have been. And for one thing, we could have it wouldn't be 90% commercials. You know, you'd actually be able to watch The Walking Dead. That's what I love about HBO shows is just going straight through the episode.
Yeah, I mean, you just get a tight 10-episode run most of the time.
And I would have been perfectly fine with that. We got 10 episodes of The Walking Dead, but they were good, dark, and commercial free. Man, sign me up. I could do without those extra 6.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
But what do you think, the listener? I know we've rambled on, and we actually just got done doing a Patreon podcast, so my brain's a little rattled. So sorry for being all over the place there. But let us know in the comments what you think. Did they make the right decision by not going that dark? Should they have went that dark? And, you know, why? We love to discuss this. We're not Walking Dead. There are so many other channels out there that I feel like are the authority on The Walking Dead, right? Like you've got lots of really good Walking Dead channels like George Drake and Movie Idol and these people that are on their P's and Q's, and I trust the things they say. Whereas with us, we're just here to discuss the show. We just enjoy talking about it. We love hearing what other people think. So if, you know, you want to add in your thoughts, please do so, and we can't wait to read them. And don't forget to check out our channel and consider subscribing. And if you like what you've heard, maybe go check out our Patreon where you can get extra podcasts every month for as little as $1 a month. We don't just do those name shout-outs for dollar patrons. We actually give you extra content.
That's right.
So check it out. And if you want to do $5, that's even cooler. $10, woo, $20, oh, Lord. So check it out. Either way, we appreciate you stopping by. I'm Justin.
I'm JP.
And we're the Podcasting Dead.